AskReddit. Parents, what made you momentarily wish you didn't have kids? Pawned my wedding ring to buy drugs. My kids buttered our dog. You ever try to catch a freshly buttered chihuahua? I'm 15 weeks pregnant and have a 15-month-old. For those who haven't been pregnant before, the first trimester is brutal for exhaustion. With my first, I slept 10 hours a night and took a 2-hour nap every day. These days I'm incredibly lucky if I get 7 hours a night and definitely no nap. So one day about a month ago I barely slept because I had insomnia at night and my kid relentlessly wakes up between 5:30 am and 6:30 am. I was dead on my feet, so I decided to try and lie down on the couch and maybe catch a cat nap while my kid played. He saw me lying on the couch, walked up to me, and headbutted me as hard as he could right in the bridge of the nose. I heard a crunch and could have sworn it was broken. It hurt so badly. In that moment, I regretted every life decision that had led me to that point. My very mature adult response was to burst into hysterical tears and ask him why he's so mean to me. I think that freaked him out more than yelling would have. When my then 3/4-year-old daughter asked me very loudly why I don't have down boobies like the older lady in the swimming pool change room that was standing right next to us getting dressed, she actually laughed and said to enjoy my up boobies while I still had them, but I was still dying inside. My 4-year-old daughter, at the time, slapped a 3-week-old newborn across the face immediately upon meeting her. A phase of having constant tantrums and explosive meltdowns over absolutely everything, like hourly as long as she was awake, only lasted a few months, but it was exhausting and depressing, and every now and again just made me wish I'd never bothered. My then 2-year-old puked, which landed in my open mouth. I wish the Goblin King would come for him then. One time, they decided it would be fun to play in the bathroom. It just so happened that I left my wallet in a pair of pants on the floor. They flushed about $400 down the toilet. Momentarily, I had to take my wife to the emergency room early one morning for intense stomach pain. Our kids were 2 and 3, and it was about 1 am, so they went with us. I packed a bag with snacks and toys and loaded everyone up. It was the middle of the night when we got there, but we still had to park a significant distance from the entrance. When wife was back with the dog, my son, 2 years old, was running around and playing. He hit his bum to his head lightly and started shrieking an ungodly banshee wail. I decided we would wait in the car and maybe drive around a little and they'd hopefully go to sleep. So I'm carrying the bag and 2 struggling angry demon preschoolers the 1/4 mile to the car. At this point my son isn't shrieking, but he's not happy. We encountered an elderly couple and my daughter, 3 years old, looks them dead in the face and says, "Hey, he's not my parent." I was exhausted and frustrated, and my arms were tired from carrying them. I didn't want to stop and have the conversation, and I panicked a little. I sped up, got to the car, loaded them up, and left in a hurry. I didn't get arrested, though. I was glad at the time. Now I'm kinda pissed that the old folks just let me go. My 3-year-old got diarrhea at the park this weekend. We were 1/2 mile walk from home with no bathroom in sight. I wanted to disappear, using his poop as a weapon to fling at kids in kindergarten. I wished if I used protection that day. When my son was 4, we were in the checkout line at the grocery store. There was a very obese man 2 people ahead of us, and unfortunately my son spotted him. He points and says very loudly, "Mommy, look how fat that man is." My insides go cold. People around us are trying not to laugh. I say in a very firm voice, "That's not a nice thing to say." To which he replies, "But he's really fat." Then I tell him to just be quiet. It was the longest I've ever waited to check out. 3 dozen half-eaten sandwiches hidden around her bedroom. If she told us she didn't like them, that would have been fine. But to hide them? Holy smokes. It was early morning, and I was sleeping in my bed. My 2-year-old woke up before me and decided that she was going to wake me as well. She climbed out of her bed, went into the kitchen, made a set of stairs to get the kitchen knives, grabbed a knife, and headed to my bed. She climbed into my bed and stabbed me an inch below my eye. I woke with her holding said knife over my head and her giggling like the bride of Chucky. waking me up in the middle of the fucking night for 4 fucking years and still going with no end in sight. My daughter from the ages of about 3 to 3 years old screamed bloody murder every time she was put down and only slept about an hour or 2 at a time. We found out later she has fairly severe autism, which explains it, but the sleep deprivation and lack of personal space I couldn't even shower unless I wanted to listen to her scream like someone was murdering her was hellish. She's grown out of it now and is an awesome kid, although she is now entering puberty and her emotions are starting to go a bit haywire. But I can sleep for 6 hours straight, which helps me deal with it much better. When my son giggled after headbutting me very hard in the temple, wanted to leave that small child out for the Jonas there for a bit. Oh, also every time he screeches like a velociraptor when he doesn't get his way. I have 2 girls who are about 6 months apart in age, adopted. One morning I woke up to the worst horror. The younger one managed to climb into the older one's crib, and then they proceeded to strip each other naked and paint each other and what they could of the crib and room in each other's shit. Seeing them both standing there grinning gave the phrase "shit eating grin" a whole new meaning. It was a shitty morning to say the least. Worst thing, my 14-year-old attempted suicide October 2018. Yes, I wished I never would have had kids. BC she wouldn't have went through what she did. It wasn't BC of her, it was more BC of I didn't want her to go through any pain or suffering. She is okay now, in case anyone wonders. She's now thriving. Totally different kid now. Not a parent, the child here. My smart self decided that the socket which we had was not pleasing, so I decided to put another one in its place. At the time my family was basically stealing electricity from the factory right next to us, so the circuit was kinda connected. Not sure about the specifics. As an expert, I did not cut off the electricity in our house before doing the surgery and got myself blown into the door, and half of the factory got cut off from electricity. No need to say that my parents were shitting in their pants because of me, and at the moment I'm pretty sure they regretted having M. My oldest at the time was 2, she's 7 now. I call this event the shitpocalypse. Decided to roll her poop into a ball and play with it. It was everywhere. Face, hands, carpet, on brothers, one face. God, it was awful. I'm sure other things will happen as he gets older. However, at 15 months, it's the constant biting and pulling my hair. Like at least once a day I'm like, why did I have a kid? I guess I'm thankful he doesn't bite other kids at daycare and only bites me. I have twins. They were about 8 when this happened, I think, but they ripped open our next door neighbor's bagged leaves and jumped in them and basically just threw them everywhere and erased all the progress they'd made cleaning their yard up. I was about 8 months pregnant at the time, and we had a super kid friendly neighborhood, so I didn't know it had happened at first, since they used to run with the kid gang during the day. When I found out, I made them go over and apologize and made them help me bag up all of the leaves again. It was definitely one of the most embarrassing things ever. Oh, and one of them broke a teacher's nose in 1st grade too, so that was a fun school trip. My kids had a favorite chicken. It got picked on by the other chickens, so they protected it. One time I heard a pathetic noise coming out of a lidless 55-gallon drum. Expecting a squirrel, I carefully glanced in and saw a big 15-gallon nursery pot upside down in there. I lifted it to find a wet, cold, and thoroughly miserable chicken standing on a few bricks surrounded by water. My kids had thoughtlessly trapped the chicken in there, and then, being 5 and 2, had forgotten all about it. Was livid. Wife and I had a long talk about what it all meant, catastrophizing the whole thing, but in the end it was just 2 stupid kids not thinking things through, because they didn't have the mental agency to understand their actions had far-reaching results. LPT, we are still fucking waiting for them to start thinking things through. My son was in 4th grade when we got an email from his teacher that he stole some things from another kid. Low grade stuff, and he was working through some things, so it was sorted out with some discipline and coaching. My daughter is in 2nd grade and is quite the sass machine. Her mouth is going to get her in some shit one of these days. I've just come to realize that all kids are assholes. It's just a matter of when and for how long. You might not like them, just as long as you love them.